Welcome back, Ronin Renegades. I'm Lupine Fiasco. This is your daily FaB gameplay, and today's game is against -IO. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I've played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will walk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, while explaining my thought processes for the lines that I take. We compare that to what I did in the past to either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns. The reason to do all this is to optimize and tighten our gameplay in the future, take down paper events, and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. With all that said, let's jump into our sideboard and our game plan. Today's game features my harmonized Kodachi list. If you would like to check this list out or try it for yourself on Talishar, you can find the deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and make sure that you are seeing daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. Today's game is less about improvement and more about showcasing a new matchup. I think -IO is going to be a strong contender post-Lexi. She is very fast, she is very strong, and with her ability to play items off the top of her deck at instant speed, she can be very tricky. A boom grenade out of nowhere represents 3 or 4 damage depending on the color. A Hadron Collider out of nowhere represents 3 or 4 additional damage plus a potential pistol shot. And I think she brings something new to the table that Mechanologist has not had access to before. So this is a pretty quick game. I think I played it pretty well. We are going to double check that statement, but overall I'm presenting it to you to show off a new hero and let us all theorize about what this matchup might look like as Dash gets more refined and as she no longer needs to play around the possibility of Lexi. For sideboarding, we are not going to make any changes to our equipment or to our 60. The equipment here works very well. Just like with OG Dash, we are trying to pressure her to block with armor, then pressure her to block with cards from hand. We want to limit her offensive capability. We want to reduce the amount of blocking that we need to do on Dash's turn so that we can present more offense on our turn. We're keeping Kodachis, we're keeping Mask of Momentum, we are keeping Furnace because this is a very fast match. We are not expecting to get more than 1 potential use out of our Spring Tunic, and we would rather have the additional 2 points of life that Flamescale Furnace generates. Mechanologist does not deal arcane damage, so we do not need Spell Void or Arcane Barrier. Getting into our 60 cards, we are not making any changes, like I said. Warmonger's Diplomacy here is very good, I'm told, if used on turn 0. If we get put on the play, then we can run this out and inhibit Dash's offensive capabilities on her first turn. But outside of that, Dash is a Mechanologist. She has strong attacks. Even if she is not supplementing those with boom grenades or Hadron Colliders, she can still boost multiple times in a turn, still come in for a lot of attack action damage, and we are not expecting to get value out of our Warmonger's Diplomacy. So this is all to say that we can use it for blocking or for pitching. We should not prioritize playing it. We're not bringing in D-Reacts because we are just trying to out-aggro Dash. We're not bringing in E-Pots because they don't block. And we are not bringing in Command and Conquers because Dash typically uses Crown of Providence. The first CNC is made much worse by Crown of Providence, and we aren't expecting the game to go long enough to get value out of the second CNC because we aren't expecting to draw it. If we do draw our CNCs and we don't get that disruptive value out of them, then they are just clunky 6-power brutal assaults, and we don't have room for that in the deck. So we are going to run the 60 that we have here. Our game plan, like with any Mechanologist, is just to race. We want to out-aggro dash. We are not necessarily playing for value, we are playing for offense. So it might be worth holding your Lava Vein loyalties, your blue or yellow brand with Cinder Claws, rather than blocking with them, if it means that you get a stronger turn that puts more pressure onto dash. She does not have a ton of on-hits. Our Mask of Momentum is our on-hit, and we are trying to threaten that as much as we can every turn cycle. You know the equipment, you know the 60, and you know the game plan. Let's jump into the game and see how it all comes together. Flame goes to discard, and we are on the draw. Dash coming in with an Expedite for 3 with Go Again. Our hand here is pretty junky. We're happy to block as much damage as Dash will let us, but we aren't going to risk overblocking. So we'll just throw a Warmonger's Diplomacy in front of this Expedite and see how the rest of Dash's turn plays out. Hopefully she throws a few more attacks at us, and we can drop a few more cards from this hand. Instead, Dash does just play Hadron Collider and Boom Grenade, both from hand, and Arsenal's a card. So we are going to be in a little bit of trouble on Dash's next turn. Hadron Collider representing 3 additional damage on top of whatever card she boosts, and Boom Grenade representing 4 on top of that. Overall, we're probably not going to block. We're just going to take a ton of damage and hope that our turn represents more. Thankfully, we do draw into not only a Draconic starter, but our brand with Cinderclaw. So we will start with that, come in with Kodachi Phoenix Flame, look to Lava Burst to end the turn, and maybe Arsenal the Soulbead Strike. I'm less excited about arsenaling it, but I don't want to pitch it extraneously or try to throw it as the Mask of Momentum trigger in order to save Lava Burst. I'd rather push a little bit of damage now, stick a Soulbead Strike in the arsenal, and if it turns out that that is what I need to snap to create a good turn, it isn't ideal, but it's doable. Kodachi here does get a block from Galvanic Bender, which is nice. Let's talk about how it is going to shift our turn. We can follow the block with a Kodachi and a Phoenix Flame. Then we have the option to either throw our Lava Burst or our Soulbead Strike. Soulbead Strike will get the Shuko trigger, representing an additional point of damage. Now, to stop 3 points of damage, Dash either needs to overblock with armor or give us a 3 block from hand. And if Dash is blocking from hand, I'm a lot less afraid of her turn. So here I am okay with throwing the Soulbead Strike, getting a block, and arsenaling our Lava Burst for a future turn. We could have thrown the Lava Burst there for 6, but if we trigger Mask of Momentum, then we get stuck with an extra card anyway. So let's save our finisher and work on crafting a better turn in the future. Here we do draw into a number of 3 blocks, so we could conceivably block this 0 to 60 with something like Salt the Wound, Bittering Thorns, and Flamescale Furnace. Depending on Dash's follow-up, we could E-Strike for 7. But I don't want to commit to having to block out Dash's entire turn, potentially giving up armor, just to stop 4 points of damage from the Boom Grenade. I would rather work on out-aggroing Dash. That is the value game that we're playing here. We aren't looking for maximum value on defense and offense. We're looking for maximum value on offense. So we're going to say no blocks here. We're going to take this 11 damage and see what else Dash can throw at us. Dash breaking Achilles Accelerator and playing Tome of Fiendal out of Arsenal is a really solid line, gaining 3 life in addition to drawing 2 cards. Playing a Hadron Collider and a Zipper Hit. Thankfully she does banish a High Octane, but Zipper Hit still coming in for 9. With a pistol shot behind it is a 22, 24 even point turn. It's very strong. 24 damage off of a 5-card hand is excellent, excellent value. Let's look at how we can play out this hand. Probably not playing Salt the Wound, we're going to pitch it. Our E-Strike can represent 5 and draw a card. With the Snapdragon Scalers, we have the Lava Burst in Arsenal, so we don't need Salt the Wound or E-Strike to act as our finisher. So let's think about how we want to sequence this turn. Bittering Thorns first as a way to bait the 2 pieces of armor is an okay start. We can then follow up with E-Strike for 5, draw a card. We float a resource. So we either play a 1-cost attack off the top of our deck, or we Kodachi Lava Burst and arsenal what we draw from the E-Strike. So here I do like leading with Bittering Thorns, following up with E-Strike, bottoming the Ronin Renegade, planning to use our Snapdragons, and seeing where the turn takes us from there. We do start with the Bittering Thorns, so on the same page. Bittering Thorn hitting, which is interesting. So we need to think about how we want to play out the rest of this turn. If we follow this Bittering with a Kodachi, that is perfectly blocked by the Crown of Providence or Teklo Foundry Heart. So we don't want to throw the Kodachi. We want to make blocking whatever this next attack is awkward. So I like following with E-Strike for 6. We bottom our Ronin Renegade, we draw a card, we use our Snapdragons, and we follow through on the same line. Either a 1-cost attack from Arsenal, either a 1-cost attack from deck. If it is a 0-cost attack, we can play that as well, threaten the mask trigger, then follow with Kodachi Lava Burst. If we wanted to, we can save the Lava Burst, but let's start with E-Strike for 6 and see what our options are. Drawing into the yellow brand here, I'm just checking Bittering Thorns to make sure I'm not forgetting something about a Draconic Link. We, of course, know that Bittering Thorns is not Draconic. Currently, we have 0 Draconic Links on the chain. So we find ourselves in a weird position where we can maximize damage this turn by playing Brand, attacking with Kodachi, attacking with Lava Burst, then picking up and arsenaling a Phoenix Flame. We miss out on a Mask of Momentum trigger, but I don't think we're getting that this turn. We could Kodachi Lava Burst and threaten a Mask of Momentum trigger, but that puts us in the same position that we were in last turn, where then we have 2 cards in hand, 1 goes in the arsenal, 1 is extra. We do want to maximize offensive value in this matchup, and that means throwing Brand with Cinderclaw here. It gets blocked by either piece of armor, probably the Foundry Heart. We follow that with Kodachi, end the turn with a 6 damage Lava Burst, then pick up and arsenal our Phoenix Flame. Phoenix Flame, of course, not the most exciting card to have in Arsenal, but it is better than nothing. It has the potential to give a Lava Vein Loyalty or Blaze Headlong Go again. Worst case, we can play it for 0, break the chain, then pick it up later, and it will trigger Shuko on its own. But overall, if nothing else, having a 5-card hand is better than a 4-card hand. Dash plays and cranks a Boom Grenade. We, of course, don't have a hand that blocks well. We want to keep our 2 Art of Wars to play on our turn, craft something large. We want to keep our Warmonger's Diplomacy to pitch for both of those, and we need our Brand with Cinderclaw to banish to the first Art of War. So this data link represents 6 points of damage if it hits. It also represents an opt. So this is a situation where I want to give armor to this. The game is going to end in 1 or 2 turns. Either our double Art of War turn is going to put us so far ahead that Dash can't catch up, or we're going to brick, spend all of our energy doing not enough damage, and Dash will crack back and kill us. So let's give up Shuko here. I would block this data link with Flamescale Furnace and Shuko. I'm confident that Dash can follow this up with an attack action that triggers the Boom Grenade, but at least we aren't letting Dash fix the top of her deck. What I do instead is say no blocks. I do think this is incorrect. If this was something like a 0 to 50, a yellow zipper hit, even a T-bone, I'm not committed to blocking it out. But because of that opt, I should be blocking that data link, and that is a mistake on my part. Here, Pulse Wave Harpoon comes in for 4, go again. The chain was broken by Dash activating the Foundry Heart. So this Pulse Wave just represents 4 points of damage. We have to reveal 1 card from our hand. Dash will not force us to block with it. Let's reveal an Art of War. We're going to play it anyway. We don't mind that Dash knows about it because we are leading with it. We aren't trying to trick Dash with it later on in our turn. Revealing the Art of War, we say no blocks, we take our 4, and we start our turn. Oh, excuse me, we are getting shot. There's a consideration for playing the Phoenix Flame here than Art of Warring to give it +1 power, but let's be safe. Let's just craft our turn before we make any big decisions. We draw into 2 double strikes, which represents a good amount of damage, but not so much that I'm not going to banish one to a second Art of War. So this is a really interesting sequencing puzzle, and it took me a minute to figure this out, even rewatching the game, and I definitely didn't figure it out correctly in game. But the correct sequencing here is Phoenix Flame, Double Strike, Lava Vein Loyalty. And the reason I want to sequence like that is the Phoenix Flame comes in for 2, the Double Strike gets the Shuko trigger and comes in for 4, then Lava Vein Loyalty comes in for 5. So at no point in that chain, except for the first link, the Phoenix Flame, do we give Dash a good opportunity to block with armor. We want her to give us cards from hand to stop our Mask of Momentum triggers. If we lead with Double Strike, the first link comes in for 3, the second link would come for 4 with the Shuko trigger, then our Phoenix Flame comes for 2 and gets cleanly blocked by Crown with Providence. And if we reverse that order, if we start with Double Strike, then Phoenix Flame, then Double Strike or Lava Vein Loyalty, the Phoenix Flame gets the Shuko trigger, attacks for 3, and gets cleanly blocked by the armor. We want to make things awkward for Dash. We want her to give us cards from hand. And starting with Phoenix Flame, keeping in mind that Phoenix Flame needs to come before Lava Vein Loyalty for Lava Vein Loyalty to get go again is the best way to do it. Here we start with Double Strike. We're going to follow this with Phoenix Flame. You can see the pause here representing me realizing that this was wrong. Phoenix Flame gets the Shuko trigger, comes for 3, and gets cleanly blocked by armor. At this point, with Phoenix Flame being blocked, that opens up our sequencing quite a bit. We will start this next attempt at Mask with Double Strike. Dash will not want to block this, so we can send a Kodachi. Then our Lava Vein Loyalty for 5. The Lava Vein Loyalty is going to take 2 cards out of Dash's hand to block, or she just gives us the hit trigger, which she does. We draw into Breaking Point, which is unfortunate, but it's a card for the arsenal. And Lava Burst is still coming in for 7. Dash blocks with 1 card, goes down to 1, and we have plenty of resources to block with. Zipper hit here coming in for 5 with Go Again. With Dash at 1, and looking at our hand and seeing that we cannot trigger our Tiger Stripe Shuko on our next turn, I'm perfectly happy to block with armor here. We'll block out 5. Take no damage from the zipper hit. Something to keep in mind is that the threat of Boom Grenade is always real. So if we got cocky and blocked the zipper hit with one of our 3 blocks, hoping to save armor, and a Boom Grenade came off the top of the deck, we take 6 and die. So This is a reckless swing situation if we were comparing it to Brute, where you always need to have the threat of Boom Grenade in mind. If you can afford to play around the Boom Grenade, you should, just in case. If you can't afford to play around it and still win the game, then you should not play around it. Play your games to win, don't play to not lose. But in this case, we have so many resources available that we can block the zipper hit in its entirety and still present lethal on our turn. And we see, in fact, Dash does have the Boom Grenade off the top of the deck. Now here it will represent a crank to generate an additional action point. It also means that we need to block this dumpster dive. So let's take a look at our hand. We can cleanly block this with 2 cards. We just need to decide what 2 cards those are. It'll be a Lava Vein Loyalty and either Mounting Anger or Bittering Thorns. If Dash had 1 more life to play with, then Bittering Thorns is the correct choice because Bittering Thorns will give our Kodachi 1 additional point of power. But with Dash at 1, the on hit for Bittering Thorns is lose the game. So it really doesn't matter. Mounting Anger is the same thing. But if the situation was different, if Dash had a little more life, we would keep Bittering Thorns 100%, which we'll still do here. We can block this dumpster dive with Lava Vein Loyalty and Mounting Anger. But in this particular situation, either one works. On our turn, we are just looking at Bittering Thorns, Kodachi, Breaking Point. Dash does have 2 action points, so this pistol is going to represent 4 points of damage and will go down to 2. If Dash had 1 more action point, we could block the 3rd pistol shot with Bittering Thorns and come in for Kodachi, Breaking Point, which doesn't win the game outright, but it does strip Dash's hand. Instead, what we do is attack with Kodachi, follow that with Bittering Thorns, and end the game with Breaking Point. And that's the game. Like I said, this game did not present a ton of decision points, I think, except for not blocking the data link. I played the game as well as I could have. Things broke in our favor. The 2 Art of Wars, representing a ton of damage on their own and also drawing into a near perfect hand for the situation, was just incredible. This is more of a showcase of Dash.io, an expectation of what's to come. That felt like a very normal game for Dash. There were no max velocities. Yes, there were a number of boom grenades and other items played off the top of the deck, but most of what she was doing came from hand. And she dealt so much damage to us. And I felt like we really needed that double Art of War to catch up. So if this is what Dash.io can do in a normal game, if this is her baseline, that is going to be very, very scary for FaB. And it's something that we're going to have to get used to in a post-Lexi world. I do hope you enjoyed this game. I do hope you learned something. If you have been playing against New Dash, share your strategies in the comments below. I'm interested to know if you are teching differently for Dash, using something like Erase Face, Smash in Good Time, or any other new strategy that is specific to these new mechanologists. You can also use the comments to ask any questions you may have or give any feedback to me. I always enjoy having you here. I enjoy engaging with this new FaB community that we are building, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, have a great day and take care of yourselves.